7 insane secrets lurking in the woods at midnight. You'll never believe what they found. The woods were alive at midnight, crackling shadows dancing under the ghostly glow of the moon. Trees towered like ancient giants, their gnarled limbs twisted into unnatural shapes, whispering secrets no one was meant to hear. It was said that, after dark, the forest would reveal truths that could send a chill through the heart of even the bravest souls. Just last weekend, a group of friends ventured in, but only 2 stumbled back out, pale and trembling, clutching a story so wild, it felt like a fever dream. What they recounted defied reason. 7 secrets hidden deep within those unforgiving woods, each darker than the last. The first strange element that sent their hearts racing was a carved stone, glimmering like a lost treasure. Someone had chiseled a map into it. But what astonished them was that the map didn't lead to picnic spots or hidden waterfalls. No, it pointed towards locations that were shockingly tied to disappearances, where people had walked in but never walked out. The air around it felt electric, as if the stone itself held the weight of lives lost. A silent scream trapped between its cracks. Then came the whispers. As the group tried to comprehend the chilling map, they heard faint voices, echoes beckoning them from the darkness. Help us! It was like the trees were sharing tales of sorrow, branches creaking and groaning with secrets. Goosebumps prickled their skin, the tension thick enough to slice. What could linger in the shadows, remaining unseen yet palpably close? Each friend exchanged nervous glances, half expecting to see figures emerge from the night, the very souls of the missing. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As they ventured deeper, one friend found an old rusted latch in the ground, hidden beneath layers of twisted roots. With trembling hands, they unearthed a small, dusty box. Inside, a collection of faded photographs flared with the urgency of forgotten memories. Faces stared back, wide-eyed and terrified. Placing it down, they noticed a film canister tucked away, still wrapped in a frayed cloth. What had it captured? What horror was preserved within its reels? Their breaths hung in the thickening air, fear flooding in as each beat of their hearts seemed louder than the last. Could such stark evidence of the forest's horrors be real? They moved closer together, pulse quickening, wrestling with a reality that felt increasingly bizarre. Who had left these clues behind, and for what purpose? Then, a rustling sounded nearby, a sharp snap of a branch that turned their blood cold. Heavy breaths echoed in the silence, followed by a chill wind that blew through the trees, as if warning them to turn back. But questions clawed at their minds. What else lurked in the shadows? What secrets were still waiting to be unearthed? The darkened forest only promised more twists in this tangled, nightmarish tale. Would they dare to discover what lay in wait? The friends stood frozen, the rustling now replaced by an uncanny stillness that filled the air like thick fog. The camera in the film canister seemed to burn a hole in their memories, demanding to be opened. Jason, always the bravest, finally broke the silence. We can't just leave this here. We need to know to see what's on it. Mary clutched her jacket tighter around her shoulders, unease reflecting in her wide eyes. What if it's something bad? The thought of those haunting photos, a reminder of lost lives, pressed heavily on her mind. Danny knelt beside Jason, flipping the box over nervously. We should be careful. Whoever took these pictures, they didn't come back for a reason. The shadows seemed to close in tighter, every rustle of the leaves carrying whispers that crawled on their skin. Shivers trickled down their spines as they huddled closer together, eyes scanning the darkening woods. What more had been hidden in this place, this graveyard of secrets? Summoning courage, Jason fished out the film canister, fingers shaking. We need to find a safe place, away from here. Maybe back at the cabin. Mary looked toward the path they had come from but felt the brush of cold air against her neck, making her feel exposed. Shouldn't we look at the images now? What if we're in danger? Let us just go. Danny urged, glancing behind at the forest shadows that seemed to watch them. They gathered their bearings, tightening the circle of protection around them. As they moved further into the woods, the sense of urgency grew within them, a pulse that quickened with every crunch of leaves beneath their feet. The path twisted, a serpentine reminder that the density of the trees seemed eager to obscure their way. Suddenly, an ear-splitting scream shattered the peaceful woods, a sound so anguished, it made each of them jump. What was that? Mary gasped, heart racing. It came from that direction. Jason pointed into the thick darkness, but their instincts screamed at them to turn away. But curiosity clawed at their minds. Could it have been another desperate plea from the forest? I'm not going any closer, Danny stated firmly, though his voice barely masked his own dread. We need to stick together. With every step, the whispering trees felt alive, their trunks gnarled like fingers trying to claw them back into the depths of the woods. Just as they reached a clearing, another sound caught their attention, a guttural noise, low and rumbling, like an animal unhinged. The friends' collective breath hitched. They knocked feet against the soil, eyes wide in primal fear, when a figure emerged from the shadows. It lurked just beyond the reach of the moonlight, its shape translucent yet unmistakably human, contorting as if in great pain. Help us! The voice rang through the night once more, sending chills cascading down their spines. The world around them spun wildly. They were resolute, to either flee or confront whatever lay ahead. Could they stand their ground against the twisted history of the woods, or would this encounter seal their fate? As adrenaline coursed through them, the truth loomed closer. The secrets they sought were about to unravel, fusing their fates into an unspeakable mystery they'd never anticipated. But the greater question lingered in the air: who were the voices calling for help, and what horror awaited them in the dark? The figure seemed to pulse within the moonlight, a bright specter surrounded by a dark aura, flickering like a dying candle. Jason's breath caught, an instinct to run clawing at him, yet he felt rooted in place, caught in the grip of both terror and a desperate curiosity. What are you? He called out, voice trembling, but the entity only twisted, its face obscured in shadows. Mary gripped Danny's arm, her nails digging in hard enough to draw blood. This isn't right. We have to get out of here, she whispered urgently, her instincts screaming at her to flee. But the help me voice continued to echo, filling the clearing haunting and visceral, chasing them deeper into despair. Help us! It wasn't just one voice. As shadows stretched and contorted, others joined in, overlapping in a cacophony of regret and pain. What did they do to you? Danny muttered, his heart pounding hard enough he could almost hear it in his ears. The figure lunged forward, now partly visible, skin pallid against the stark night. A gash marred its arm, an absence of warmth wrapped in otherworldly sorrow. Find the truth, it rasped, the air growing denser, vibrating with an unseen energy. Get back! Jason shouted as the figure crashed forward, limbs twisting unnaturally, slipping in and out of the edges of existence. Their instincts kicked and the group turned, unity forged and fear erupting through each stride. They raced back down the path, the cries of desperation trailing after them, seeping into their minds like poison. Then a force, the unsettling feeling of being pursued, pressed down on their shoulders. A shadow flitted behind them, always close but never tangible. Leaves whispered their secrets, swirling around their feet, fostering whispers that sliced through the tension. What if it's not just a ghost? Danny wheezed, breathless as they barreled through narrow openings between trees. What if it's something worse? It took him a moment to realize he was speaking aloud. They pressed onward, fueled by dread. The cabin was a distant dream, its comforting promise enveloped by the oppressive darkness. As they burst through the underbrush and into the clearing of the cabin, breaths came fast, ragged. Jason turned and slammed the door shut, his heart pounding fiercely against his ribcage. Did we lose it? Don't think we're safe yet, Mary panted, darting glances outside where shadows lurked in the moonlight. The whispers were louder outside, evidence that something was keeping pace with them. Jason began, but snapped his mouth shut as he noticed the canister still in his hand. We need to see these images. It might help us understand. Mary jerked back, eyes wide with fear. What if it shows what we just saw? What if it shows us? No. We need to confront this. Jason ripped open the canister, hands shaking. He felt the weight of something heavy settling in his stomach, a premonition of dread that sent cold shivers down his spine. As he fumbled with the camera, Danny flipped the light on. The old bulb flickered, casting eerie shadows against the walls. The images appeared like vivid echoes of the past, flickering from crumbling film. The first photograph showed a pristine lake, beautiful and tranquil. The next was a group of people, a joyful gathering, laughter captured in time. Then came the darkness, a picture of a torn, blood-stained landscape, the figures blurred in agony. Another photo followed, a twisted image, something inhuman lurking behind the laughter, grinning maliciously. They recoiled, hearts racing. The figures were not strangers. They were familiar faces. Friends long forgotten. Each subsequent snapshot drawn from a memory buried deep like an old scar. Who are they? Mary stammered, voice barely rising above the fear echoing in the cabin's dim light. Jason swallowed hard, a heavy lump lodged in his throat. We need to find out. Just as he turned the next photo, the air shifted, an ultimatum. A cold breeze swept through the room, erasing the warmth, as the whispers returned, louder now. Find us, free us. The door rattled, a force from outside pushing against it, desperate to come in. There, in the growing shadows, they felt the weight of what was to come. The ticking clock of their fate had begun, and they were running out of time. Could the past be resurrected? What was demanding release? The line between the living and the lost was blurring, and the darkness was closer than it had ever been. Who would pay the price for the truth hidden within those haunting photographs? Jason's fingers trembled as he turned to the next photograph, nearly dropping the camera in panic. The light flickered again, casting ominous shadows that danced across the walls, forcing them to confront each memory laid bare before them. The next image showed a blurred figure among the trees, ubiquitous and haunting, as if it had been caught mid-motion. A chill swept through the room, and the whispers crescendoed to a fever pitch. Help us, find us enough. Danny shouted, panic seeping through his voice. He yanked the camera from Jason's hands and pointed it toward the door, as if it could somehow protect them. We need to see if we can capture whatever that is. Mary's face was pale, eyes darting with frantic urgency. What if we reveal something worse? What if we unleash it? What choice do we have? Jason replied, a fire igniting within him. We can't be scared anymore. He took a deep breath and squared his shoulders, moving toward the door. With each step, the whispers pressed in, clawing at his consciousness. Their pleading was palpable, curling around him like smoke. Find us, free us. Danny aimed the camera at the door, focused on the shadows licking at the edges. He pressed the shutter, a flash of light illuminating the darkness beyond. For a heartbeat, everything stilled. Did it work? Mary leaned closer, breath caught in her throat. Jason hurried to peer over Danny's shoulder. What appeared was shocking. In the photo, low and menacing, stood not just the twisted figure they had encountered but a cluster of faces, familiar faces. Each one marred by fear, but their mouths were wide, open in silent screams. Jason stumbled back, realization dawning like a violent storm. My God, he breathed. They look like people we knew. Danny swallowed hard, his voice wavering. These aren't just ghosts from the woods. They're tied to us. The door rattled once more, this time slamming against the frame, sending splinters flying. They all jumped backward, hearts thundering in their chests. We're not alone, Mary gasped, eyes glistening with tears of terror. Jason snatched the camera back from Danny's hands. We need to keep shooting. Maybe it will show us how to break whatever this is. His voice wavered, but he masked the fear with determination. Danny nodded, swallowing the lump of dread in his throat. All right, but let us stick together. Whatever is out there wants us. It led us to these pictures. Once more, they approached the door, the energy in the room crackling, oppressive and thick. Without a word, Jason raised the camera, ready to capture whatever darkness awaited them. As he pressed the button, the flash cut through the shadows. And what they saw shook Jason to his core. The figures were closer now, their faces clear no longer in the wood's haze, but framed in bright, cold light. They were friends and family, laughing and crying, going through every emotion imaginable. But behind them loomed a shape barely discernible, a monstrous silhouette, both grotesque and familiar. No, Jason's voice was a strangled whisper, realization hitting like a freight train. They were the whispers intensified, swirling around them, angry and desperate. Find us. Free us. Mary fell to her knees, her heart racing like a drum. What does it want? How do we free them? How can we help? The cacophony reached a fever pitch, each voice layered upon another, straining against the silence they were invoking. The answer lies within the woods. With those shattering words, the room darkened further. The shadows pooled around them, thickening, almost alive. The air chilled, a knot forming in their stomachs. Jason felt the weight of desperate eyes upon him, begging for release. The camera slipped from his fingers, crashing to the ground, photos scattering like fallen leaves. It's not asking for help, he realized in horror. It's demanding something. A sudden urgency coursed through them as they heard the growl from the shadows, accompanied by an unnatural silence pressing in. Time had become their enemy, and now the knowledge hung over them like a blade. Whatever it is, it's coming. For us, Danny warned, cringing at the crescendo of howls that heralded an approaching storm. We need to go back to the woods, don't we? Mary's voice trembled, knowing the implications. Jason nodded, heart racing. But first, we need to gather the photographs. They hold the truth. With resolve, they bolted for the door, ready to face the long-buried horrors waiting just outside, haunted by the reality that their past wasn't just alive, it was awake. What awaited them beyond the threshold? Was redemption even possible among the forgotten? Or would they become yet another echo swallowed by the darkness? The door burst open. Cold night air rushed in, washing over them like a freezing tide. Jason hesitated, the darkness beyond the threshold seemed to mock his fear. But the growl reverberated closer, a guttural echo that sparked a primal instinct to flee or fight. Go. Now. Danny urged, pushing forward. They stepped into the void, surrounded by towering trees that loomed like silent sentinels. The whispers didn't fade, they followed, wrapping around them tighter than any rope could. Mary's heart raced as she fought to breathe. Which way? She cried, looking desperately from one direction to another, the inky blackness swallowing the path they had just emerged from. Straight ahead. We have to get to the clearing. Jason shouted, his resolve steeling. It wasn't just about escape, it was the need to understand, to find the answers tangled in their memories. With every step, an electric energy pulsed through the air. The forest felt alive, aware of their presence, and they were intruders in its long-held secrets. Jason raised the camera, intending to document everything, but each flash seemed to infuriate the shadows swirling about them. Keep moving. Danny yelled, though he stumbled over roots snaking through the underbrush. Jason felt every scrape and scratch as they barreled forward. The fear behind him was tangible, a weight on his back urging him faster. Suddenly, a figure manifested to their left, barely visible beneath the gnarled branches. Jason's heart stuttered, and he raised the camera instinctively. The snapshot illuminated a face he recognized yet barely knew, a childhood friend whose laughter once echoed through the same woods. But now the expression was one of torment, eyes pleading for release. What is happening? Mary gasped, her voice trembling as she gripped Jason's arm. This is insane. They're trapped, we have to help them. Not just help, Jason exclaimed, a new understanding creeping in. We have to confront whatever is holding them here. They reached the clearing, moonlight flooding the space, stark and white against the eerie ambience. In the middle lay a decayed tree, its bark twisted and wet. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices converging into a single echo, "Free us." Gathering himself, Jason took a deep breath before raising the camera again. He snapped a photo of the night sky as if it would capture the truth buried beneath the leaves. The flash revealed something startling: figures emerging from the tree, faces twisted not from fear, but from sorrow. They glanced at him with vivid clarity, eyes filled with stories old and unshed tears. The roots they're connected, Danny realized, horror rippling through his voice. They're anchored here. Mary knelt beside the decayed tree, running her fingers over the gnarled roots. There has to be a way to undo this. Something in the past holds the key. As if responding to her words, the air thickened, and shadows began swirling around them, coiling tighter like serpents. Panic set in, drowning them in an unforgiving tide. We need to go back. We have to find out what we did to deserve this. Jason yelled. He turned back toward the forest, but the way they had come was shrouded in thick mist, evaporating into nothing as if it had never existed. Dread pooled in his stomach, and the growling became a symphony of fury. It's like it's alive, it knows we're here. Danny shouted, scanning the perimeter for anything that could offer a refuge. Mary's voice was a whisper, choked with despair. We can't stay here. We have to face it. Whatever it is. The shadows darkened, swirling around them like a whirlpool, lifting Mary off her feet. No. Jason lunged forward, grappling for her hand, but the shadows were too strong. Tie yourselves to the memories. She screamed, just as she was pulled into the swirling blackness. Free them all. With that, it all fell into place. The past wasn't just what they had lived, it was what they had left unexamined. Jason looked at Danny, terror reflected in both their eyes. We have to find the hidden truth to confront our own forgotten fears. As they braced themselves, the air surged with energy, the spirits of the woods crying out. They needed to act before every isle of hope slipped through their fingers. Just as the shadows lunged forward, Jason held the camera high, snapping a final picture. The world around them erupted into chaos, but he felt an ember of clarity ignite inside him. In that moment of chaos, amidst the grasping shadows, one thought loomed large: they weren't just running anymore, they were diving straight into the heart of darkness, where history, pain, and the whispered cries for redemption awaited them. What would they uncover within the depths of the woods? Would their confrontation reveal salvation or something far worse than mere death? The shadows recoiled like a wounded beast, but not before snatching Mary into a dark embrace. Jason's heart plummeted. Her scream echoed in the thick air, a rallying cry that lanced straight through the veil of horror they stumbled into. Mary! Danny shouted, springing into motion, his instincts driving him to chase the fading wail. No! Jason grabbed his arm, fear tightening around them like a noose. We can't just go in blindly. We need a plan. Danny's eyes blazed with desperation, darting around the clearing. What plan? She's gone. We have to save her. The shrill, high-pitched whispers of the forest escalated into a thunderous roar, drowning out their voices, making it hard to think. Shadows blurred, flickered, and stretched toward them like fingers reaching for a long-lost loved one. Jason felt sick. The energy couldn't keep building like this, it was suffocating. He glanced back at the gnarled tree. Maybe the truth is linked to her, he murmured, trying to think through the chaos swallowing him whole. We need to find what keeps them tied to this place. To her. The root of it all. Fine. Danny spat, frustration spilling over. But we're running out of time. With renewed urgency, they approached the tree, the air around it heavy and electric. Jason knelt, peering between the tangled roots. An unsettling sensation pricked at his skin, it almost felt like the tree was watching him back. He pressed his hand against the rough bark, feeling vibrations humming underneath. The whispers transformed, flooding his mind with fragmented memories, not just his, but bits of others' lives entwined in the wood. Faces flashed before his eyes, smiling, laughing. Families torn apart, ghosts of once happy moments overshadowed by despair. Each image a bitter reminder of what had come to rest here. "I see them," he gasped, feeling the pressure of those held captive by the dark magic of this forest. "I can hear them." "What are they saying?" Danny asked, dread lining his voice. "It's jumbled." Jason pressed harder against the bark, trying to decipher the cries. "They want us to understand, to remember." With a sudden surge of clarity, a cooler breeze swept through, lifting Jason's hair. He saw a vision, an image of children, laughing under this very tree years ago, before the shadows claimed them. Their infectious giggles twisted into sobs echoing around him, swirling in a tempest of sorrow. The landscape shifted abruptly. The moonlight intensified, illuminating something glistening within the roots. A faint outline of something wet and dark stared back at them, pulsing in rhythm with their hearts. "What is that?" Danny whispered. With trembling hands, Jason brushed aside layers of dirt and decaying leaves to reveal a small box, its surface engraved with children's drawings, childlike depictions of joy that slowly turned sinister in their expressions. His breath hitched. It felt sacred, yet tainted. "It's a memory box," he murmured. As he lifted it, a screech erupted from the depths of the shadows. They twisted in agitated fury, the ground rumbling beneath their feet. The air thickened again, weighty and thick with dread, and a deep growl echoed once more, louder than before. "Run!" Jason yelled, shoving the box into Danny's hands. They turned to flee toward the tree line, but someone or something was blocking their path. A dark figure emerged, its shape constantly shifting, hunger radiating from its essence. It was as if the forest itself had taken form, eyes glimmering with malice. "You dare disturb the resting?" It hissed, its voice slithering through the air like poison. "Stop!" Danny shouted, trying to hold his ground. "We're not here to disturb. We need to free them." A mocking laugh peppered the night, the shadows within the figure expanding. "Free them? They belong to me now, and so do you." Jason's heart raced. Fighting this darkness meant confronting not just what bound the spirits, but the ghosts of their own childhoods, the truths they all buried deep inside. "Take this!" Jason shouted, tossing the box toward the shifting figure. It landed at its feet, skidding to a halt, the engravings glinting in the moonlight. "Run!" He screamed again, grabbing Danny and pulling him backward, their minds set on escape, but with every step, the earth trembled. As the void swallowed the moonlight and the shadows surged closer, Jason heard it clearly, a voice that broke through the chaos, piercing through his mind like a beacon of light. Embrace the past or surrender to the shadows. What awaited them beyond the darkness? Would facing their past release the captives or simply seal their own fate? The figure quivered, its form shifting like dark smoke coiling through the night. Jason felt Danny's grip tightening around his wrist, fear swirling in his friend's eyes like a raging storm. They had stumbled onto something much darker than mere shadows, something alive, conscious, and hungry for despair. "Move!" Jason yelled, urgency crackling in his voice as they darted to the side, hoping to evade the towering shadow looming over them. The air felt sharper, colder. With every frantic step, the world around them felt heavier, as if gravity itself had turned against them. As they veered away from the tree, the shrieks of the spirits echoed behind, a cacophony of voices pleading from the depths of the void. "Jason! Danny!" They cried, a chorus of sorrow and anger merging in a chilling symphony that beckoned them back. The ground bucked beneath them, roots snaking outwards like reaching hands. Jason stumbled, but Danny yanked him upright. "Keep moving," he insisted, eyes wild with panic. The dark creature behind them radiated a palpable evil, its laughter rolling through the trees like distant thunder. "What do we do?" Jason gasped, scarcely daring to look back. "Remember what the box meant. Maybe it's the key." Danny shouted. What do you think it can do? Jason's thoughts raced even faster than their feet. It holds their memories. If we can use them, but the rest of his thought was lost in the rush of wind as the shadows surged forward, biting at their heels. They broke through the overgrown foliage just as the creature lunged, its form reforming into a monstrous mole ready to devour them. "Run to the meadow!" shouted Danny, pointing towards a sliver of moonlight beckoning through the trees. They sprinted forward, limbs burning, breath coming in jagged gasps. As they neared the clearing, the creatures of the forest roared behind them like a living nightmare wanting to drag them into the depths of despair. Once in the meadow, the moon bathed them in silver, stark and otherworldly. Jason and Danny fell to their knees, gasping for breath. The ethereal glow seemed to momentarily push back the shadows, but they could still hear the dark entity growling hungrily on the edge of the wood. "What now?" Danny panted, clutching the memory box tightly. "If this thing wants it so badly, what if it's the only way to save Mary?" Jason's heart raced as he considered the implications. The ghosts, trapped in that box, were seeking release. "We have to open it. Let them out." "But what if it makes things worse?" Danny's doubt hung heavy in the air. "Or better?" Jason shot back, a sudden sense of determination flooding through him. With shaking hands, Danny held the box up to the moonlight. The surface shimmered as if alive, and whispered shadows began to curl around them like smoke, pressing into their minds. "They're desperate," Jason shouted, remembering their cries. "We can't let them stay trapped." They pried open the lid, and a bright light shot out, illuminating the clearing in a burst of warmth. The whispers swelled into a beautiful harmony that contrasted sharply with the growls of the darkness. "Don't look away," Jason urged as faces emerged from the light, children, long forgotten, their eyes sparkling with hope. "Embrace your past." They chorused, moving toward the shadows as the darkness roared in protest. The shadows shifted uneasily, the being recoiling as if in pain, and Jason felt a rush of energy course through him, imbuing him with a sense of clarity he hadn't felt before. "Together!" he cried, grabbing Danny's hand. They took a step forward, merging their intentions with the spirit's shimmering essence. What would happen if they embraced the memories instead of running from them? Suddenly, the dark figure screamed, a sound that echoed through the woods, shaking the ground beneath them. It was being pulled back into the depths, struggling against something unseen. "Let us go," Danny urged, dragging Jason towards the gathering light. But as they stepped deeper into it, the rift split open further, and a chilling realization struck Jason. "Wait, where's Mary?" The light flickered, and the darkness howled. Jason turned, heart racing. The battle was just beginning, and the shadows had only just begun to retaliate. Was embracing the past the key to setting her free, or would it plunge them into an even darker night? The tension crackled in the air, each moment stretching into eternity as the shadows writhed, hungry for vengeance against those who dared challenge their reign. What awaited them in the depths of that flickering light? Would embracing memories prove a curse or a salvation? The moment Jason and Danny stepped into the radiant light, the world around them transformed. They felt a jolt in the air, like the electric touch of a storm, and the meadow vibrated beneath their feet. Behind them, the darkness churned, an angry tide fighting against the rising tide of memory and hope. "Jason, we need to go back," Danny shouted, panic clawing at his voice. But the bright figures in front of them shimmered, beckoning them forward. Faces twisted with longing and despair surged around, their eyes pleading. "Embrace us," they cried, the sounds resonating deep within Jason's chest. "Set us free." "Set you free?" Danny asked, confused. "But what about Mary?" Jason interrupted, urgency pulsing through him. "She is still out there. We can't just leave." The children's faces morphed into shadows as the dark creature emerged from the trees, its form monstrous and undulating, its jaws wide. "They are not your friends," it thundered, its voice like ice scraping against steel. "They want to take you deeper into sorrow. You will never escape me." The light shimmered again, more vibrant, as if it sensed the encroaching danger. Jason stepped forward, the memory box pulsating in Danny's grip. "We can't let them be lost," he urged, squeezing Danny's hand, conviction burning within him. "Mary. We have to find her first," Danny insisted, but Jason could feel the pull of the spirits. This was their moment, their last breath of hope. "Together!" Jason shouted. Without thinking, he released Danny's hand and stepped towards the luminous figures, his heart pounding against his ribs. "Open the box. Let them out." Danny hesitated, fear etching lines across his face. "What if it's a trap?" he whispered, glancing back at the creature, which loomed larger now, clawing its way into the light. "No," Jason's voice broke through the fear, sounding more resolute than he felt. "We have to trust this. It's the only way." Danny swallowed hard, gripping the box as if it was a lifeline. He opened it wider, the light pouring out in torrents, a radiant stream weaving through the shadows trying to stifle them. The figures danced around them, swirling like a living dream. "Welcome us. We are the echoes of your past. We can guide you." But Jason's instincts screamed. "Where's Mary?" he shouted, desperation clawing at every word. In that moment, the darkness roared, fierce and primal. The shadows came alive, wrapping around Jason's legs like chains. "You think you can control me with memories? You are foolish." It bellowed, a horrifying din that drowned out the children's song. With fierce determination, Danny pushed forward. "Look! The box!" He pointed as the spectral children surged toward the dark entity, their anguish morphing into power that confronted the very being of darkness, but Jason wasn't ready for what happened next. The shadows, sensing the release of the memories, flared violently. 1 second, they were swirling around them, then they turned, attacking the dark figure with unmatched fury. "No!" it howled, flaring in pain, the shadows pulling it away. "You cannot chain me. I am eternal." The light flickered ominously, swaying in rhythm with the battle. Jason felt the energy flow from him into the light, pouring his soul into that moment, fighting with every ounce of his being. Amidst the fray, he caught a glimpse of something in the distance, an echo of Mary. She was there, just beyond the veil of light, trapped somewhere in the shadows. "Mary!" he shouted, the sound like a shot in the dark. As he reached out, it felt as if 1,000 hands grasped his heart, wrenching him between fear and hope. He pulled further, the desperate cry for her swirling through every fiber of his being. But just as he thought he could break through, darkness enveloped him, wrapping tighter than before. What if saving those lost souls meant sacrificing everything? A choice loomed ahead, love or despair. There was still time to find Mary, but the shadows were smart, churning viciously to lure them further down, deeper into a teeming abyss. How far would Jason go to save her? Would confronting the darkness unleash more than just the spirits of the past? Jason's heart raced, pounding like a drum in the midst of chaos. He felt the shadows gripping him tighter, cold tendrils of despair spiraling around his feet, locking him in place. The warmth of the radiant figures kept drawing him toward that flickering light, but the dark mass roared, louder and more ferocious than before. "Danny! We have to," he shouted, but his voice was smothered by the hiss of darkness. The ground quaked beneath him, anxiety rippling through his veins. The spirits surged around Danny, their faces filled with sorrow but also a strange fire. They intertwined with the shadows in a battle of their own. Jason could see it, a struggle that tore at the very essence of the meadow. "Don't give in," Danny yelled, struggling against the tide. "We can't let it win." His voice quaked, but he remained steadfast, gripping the box as if it were his last hope. The pulsating light from the box began to flicker, entwined with the growing frenzy around them. Jason's eyes darted from Danny to the fading figure of Mary. Each blink sent her image crashing like a wave against the shores of his mind. She was slipping away. "Mary! I'm coming!" He lunged, but the chains of shadow held him back, tightened their grip until he could barely breathe. Panic clawed at his throat. What if she couldn't hear him? What if this was all for nothing? Jason. Danny's voice broke through, sharp and clear. We need to focus. The light can still reach her. He steeled himself against the consuming shadows, and Jason noticed a spark of courage glowing within him. With renewed resolve, Jason shouted, "Open the box. Let the light consume this darkness." He pressed forward, fighting against the pull of despair, willing himself to believe in the power of the light. It was as if the spirits responded to his plea. The radiant energy shimmered brighter, illuminating the dark corners of the meadow where they were trapped. "Free us!" They cried in unison, their voices rising in a chorus of hope. "Join us. Together, we can drive it away." Their words intertwined with the shimmering light, sending shivers of energy through Jason and Danny. It was as if the light was alive, swirling with potential, ready to take on the shadows. "Do it. We're stronger together," Jason urged, his voice ignited with urgency. Danny nodded fiercely and, with trembling but decisive hands, lifted the box higher. Now. The light surged like a tidal wave, sweeping toward the dark creature. It howled, a sound laced with pure terror as it contorted and writhed. Shadows flaked away, as if the very essence of darkness was being shredded apart, but something lurked behind that howling rage, a realization that made the hairs on the back of Jason's neck stand on end. The creature was not just fighting to survive, it was hiding something, a truth buried deep within that darkness. "Jason, look." Danny pointed, his eyes wide. A flicker of movement beneath the shadow's thrashing form caught Jason's attention. There, amidst the chaos, was not only the dark entity but also images swirling, visions of fear, loss, a reflection of their own struggles intertwined with the essence of the dark force. "What are we missing?" Jason asked, desperation creeping into his tone. The shadows were fading, but something vital remained just beyond their grasp. The deeper he looked, the more he felt an unsettling truth swell beneath the surface. The creature shrieked again, but now it was different, more agonized, more primal, echoing a loneliness that sent chills down Jason's spine. Was it begging for release too? But would they accept the secrets the darkness held? "Jason, it's not just about the spirits, this could be about us." Danny blurted out, panic and realization colliding. "What do you mean?" Jason felt a deep swell of confusion, but before Danny could respond, the shadows reared back one last time, hurtling toward them, forcing them to confront their deepest fears. What would it take to face not just the darkness surrounding them, but the darkness within? And who would emerge unscathed in this game of light and shadow? The shadows shifted and surged, revealing a truth that could change everything. The next choice awaited them, but would they dare to uncover the hidden mysteries? The shadows recoiled, swirling like a storm before them, but Jason and Danny stood firm, their resolve hardening like steel. "We need to listen," Jason shouted, feeling the weight of his heart pulsing in time with the darkness. "It's not just about fighting, it's about understanding what binds it here." With that realization, something within Jason shifted. The frantic energy that had gripped him seemed to drain as he drew a deep breath, grounding himself beneath the chaos. "Show us!" he yelled, summoning his courage. "Show us what you want." The air grew still. The clamor of whispers quieted, replaced by an eerie hush that blanketed the meadow. The dark figure shimmered, the outlines of familiar faces emerging from within its depths, twisted remnants of hopes and fears culminating into a distorted vision of their past. That it was their own memories that haunted them, the anguished echoes of lives unfulfilled surfacing like shadows from beneath the waves. Each face was a reflection, flawed yet magnificent, laughter clouded by grief, promises unfulfilled, and moments snatched away by time. "Embrace it!" Danny shouted, his voice a lifeline amidst the horror wrapping around them. "Embrace the truth, Jason. It's time." In that heartbeat of clarity, Jason's heart raced with each flickering image around them. He stepped forward again, taking Danny's hand once more. "We can't keep running from what happened. We need to forgive ourselves, our choices. As if in response, the shadows twisted violently, recoiling as though repulsed by their words. You think forgiveness will free you? You will be consumed by sorrow. The darkness growled, its voice brushing against their skin like ice. No. Jason countered, feeling a strength in vulnerability. Forgiveness is what will set us free. Suddenly, a wave of warmth enveloped them, suffusing their hearts and minds with all the joys they had pushed aside. They felt echoes rise, distant laughter, the gentle caress of summer winds, whispers shared in moments of joy, all mixing with tones of sorrow like a haunting melody. The figures within the darkness moaned, their shapes shifting with uncertainty. Flashes of their childhood, goodbyes, and secrets long buried surfaced in vivid clarity. Remember. The light urged, illuminating the way through the shadows. Your past holds the key. Fighting against the predominance of despair, Jason and Danny drew on the strength the light offered. We weren't just friends, we were family. We chased dreams, made mistakes, and held each other through heartbreak. The darkness writhed, but Jason felt it weakening. Faces turned towards them, searching. We can't change the past, but we can reclaim it, he shouted. And through our love, our bonds, you must know you never truly left. As the shadows surged toward them menacingly, Danny grasped the memory box tightly, clutching it to his chest. Look! He cried. The shadows retreat. They're afraid. In that moment, Jason saw the flickering light pouring through the ethereal shapes surrounding them, each heartbeat driving back the darkness inch by inch. Unfathomable sadness turned into strength when hearts united. Open the box, Danny. This is our chance. Jason urged, gripping his friend's shoulders. Together. With a deep breath, Danny lifted the lid, and a blinding light erupted, spilling warmth into every dark crevice. The spectral children swept forward, merging with the light in a dazzling emanation of color and hope. Free us. The voices called, warming the frigid air, creating a bond of light that coiled around each shadow as it shivered and cowered before their collective strength. Now! Jason and Danny shouted, stepping forward hand in hand as the light expanded outward, engulfing the shadows, illuminating the faces of loved ones they had lost but hung onto in memory. As the darkness struggled and fled, it revealed something Jason hadn't expected: a figure trapped within, caught in an agonizing cry. Mary. Jason! She screamed, her voice a haunting echo across the meadow, woven with pain and desperation. Hold on, Mary! We're coming! He cried, but the shadows swirled back, pulling her into a vortex of despair. The whispers climbed to a fever pitch, each voice striking a chord in Jason's heart. With unwavering determination, he charged forward, focused on Mary's face when the light enveloped him fully, spilling over his skin like a warm embrace. You're not alone, Mary! He shouted. You're part of us. We're never leaving you behind. Suddenly, it felt like a rope had tied them together, a bond forged from every smile, every tear they shared. With one final push, they ducked beneath the trailing shadows, shoving the light forward. Remember the love. Remember your light. In that sacred moment, Mary emerged from the depths, her figure slicing through the dark in radiant light. Tears streamed down her cheeks, the spirit of laughter shining through in a single heartbeat that seemed to shake the very foundation of the forest. I'm here. I'm with you. She exclaimed, her voice melding into the chorus of their past, to those they had lost, to the children who lingered in memory, and to the spirits demanding release. As they stepped forward together, the shades began collapsing, screaming as they disintegrated to ash and dust. The dark figure contorted, howling in fierce agony. No. You cannot undo the past. I own you all. But as the shadows vanished, the light surged fiercely, erasing lingering traces of sorrow. Jason felt a lifting of weight, the bonds of painful memories turning into ethereal warmth. The night was clear now, reflecting the stars like countless eyes watching over their triumph. The air was crisp and fresh, filled with the gentle rustle of leaves, carrying the laughter of those who had freed themselves. As dawn broke, the silhouettes of their past bathed in sunlight, vibrant and luminous, offered gentle nods of understanding. A final goodbye mingled with hope. "Let us not forget," Jason whispered, wiping tears from his cheeks as he turned to Danny and Mary. "We faced the darkness together, and it's through love that we found the light." Hand in hand, they turned toward the horizon, ready to embrace the future, knowing any shadow lurking behind them held no power anymore. And if you're watching this, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for more incredible stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm so we can keep bringing you these adventures. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us grow this community together.